Hi, this is Dee at Aloha Astro, and the purpose of this video is to help you understand the Daywatch calendar and report, which you either have received from me or you're thinking about ordering. And you would have found it at alohaastro.com on the astrology page. And it is available down near the bottom. There we go. The Daywatch calendar and report, and you can click to buy it. There are samples of what it looks like, but now I'd like to just pull up some sample reports and show you how to navigate the report. So here we've got the Daywatch report for me and the calendar. I used my birth data. Let's take a look at what we have going on here. Here you can see where the planets will be at the time of the new moon and the full moon in the month of June. You can also see what the transits are in the sky on particular days. The days are here in a vertical column. Here we can see like Venus entered Cancer on the 2nd, and we've got the various aspects that are occurring between planets lining up with the days that they occur. This is what's going on for everybody. Over here where it says TRANAT, these are the transits to my natal planets. And in your own report, it would be to your natal planets. So if you see it in black, it's everybody and it's what's going on in the sky that's affecting the whole world. And if you see it in blue, then it's going to be specific to whoever's birth data is being used for the report. And then if you want to get very technical and study the exact degrees that planets will be in on any particular day, the planets run across the top here in the grid. And here are the days. And here you can see the degrees that they are at on any given day. You can see when a planet changes signs. Like the Sun here changes from Gemini to Cancer on the 22nd. And if you see it in red, that means that the planet is in retrograde motion. When you see a little d, it is stationing direct. It's coming out of its retrograde and stationing direct. When you see a little rx at the beginning, it is stationing retrograde, and the planet is going retrograde. Let's take a look at what a calendar page looks like. The events of the month will be listed here. This is when specific planets do certain things, namely move into other signs or station direct or retrograde. So here we see the same thing we saw in that vertical column, but it gives us the day, the 2nd, Venus enters Cancer, Mars enters Leo on the 11th, Jupiter retrogrades on the 20th, the Sun enters Cancer on the 20th, Mercury stations direct on the 22nd, Neptune stations retrograde on the 25th, and Venus enters Leo on the 26th. And the times are given AM or PM, and it will be for the time zone that your report is prepared for. So if you're born, let's say, in Paris, but you're living in Los Angeles, this report will be drawn up for you based on where you're living. And the time zone will be accurate. Therefore, the times that specific planets make specific aspects or movements will be accurate for your own location. So it is important when you're ordering that you give me not just your birth data, but the location of where you're living so that we get the right time zone for you. All right, so you'll notice that at the top right corner of every page, every day, we have a symbol for a sign. And we have some days where we have 2. That means that the moon is changing signs. On the 1st at 4:08 a.m., it moved from Aquarius to Pisces. And then it spent a full day in Pisces, and then at 1 p.m. on the 3rd, it moves from Pisces to Aries. You'll notice that the moon spends about 2 to 2.5 days in each sign, and over the course of the entire month, it will go through a full cycle. It will go through all the signs. So month after month after month, that same cycle occurs. After a while, if you use the calendar and maybe just note which days have been particularly good for you, which have been challenging, after a while you may be able to make correlations between certain moon sign transits and times that were either very good for you or very challenging. Now, the color coding that you see on each day can give you some idea of whether it would be a good day or a not so good day. And honestly, some of the not so good days, as indicated by red, are not necessarily bad. They're simply high energy. But when there are many aspects in the sky affecting people so that they are more agitated, or they're moving around faster, or they're pushier or more arrogant, that can be challenging. Those high energy days on the red days are also good for having those talks that need to be had, or having confrontations, or cleaning out your closets, starting an exercise program, anything where you want to put out a lot of energy. So the red days are not necessarily bad, but you might notice the general tone of society, especially if you drive a vehicle, that people may be going through those red lights very fast, or cutting you off in traffic, because everybody's on a higher energy vibe under those red days. Now, the black days are neutral. That means that what's going on up in the sky is not considered to be either, wow, we're having a fantastic day full of flow and energy, like the green days are, or we're having some struggle, some challenge, some friction, as the red days may be. So the color coding does not apply just to you. That color coding applies to everybody, because that's based on these little black hieroglyphics you see here on each day, and that shows you the aspects that are in the sky, the transits to transits, tran, as you see in the report that's accompanying this. We'll pull up the report in a minute. You don't need to know what all these symbols are, but if you are curious about, or if you need a reference sheet, you can Google astrology cheat sheet, and you will find many cheat sheets to choose from that will give you the meanings of the symbols, the meanings of the aspect symbols, the meanings of the planetary symbols, the meanings of the sign symbols, and the meanings of the houses in your natal chart. And everybody's natal chart is divided into 12 houses, which have to do with different areas of life. So all those little black hieroglyphics are just giving you an idea of what the exchange of energy is between the planets in the sky, and the color-coded days reflect whether they are neutral or very flowing and supportive and positive, where everybody's going to be in a good mood, or red, where there's high physical energy and potential for more friction and challenge. Now, the blue on your calendar pages, all of those blue symbols are what's going on in the sky in relation to your own natal chart planets. So it's personal, and everybody's will be different based on their natal chart. These just happen to be mine. Now, it is very possible that you could have a day that has good aspects to your own natal chart on a day that is particularly challenging for other people. And for instance, here we are at the new moon today on the 10th. The day is considered to be extremely challenging. It's a red day because we've got the moon joining the sun, an eclipse, making a square to Neptune, and that can bring a lot of confusion or uncertainty. But then if I look at my own aspects, I have predominantly more favorable aspects today. The moon squares my Venus, but it does make a supportive sextile to my moon. It is joining my natal ascendant, so focus is on me. It is making a sextile to Uranus and a trine to my midheaven, which can be very good for me career-wise. So overall, I have a pretty good day with some flow and wanting to put myself forward so people see me or hear me. But the day itself can be a high energy or particularly stressful day for some people. Not so much for me. And you might find the same. When you look at your calendar, you might notice that, oh, it's a green day. Everybody's talking about how wonderful they feel today, but I feel like crap. Well, you might be having some aspects to your own natal chart that day that are not like what's going on in the sky affecting everybody else, and they may be dominating the day for you and taking away from some of the pleasure of a green day. And the opposite can hold true as well. Well, you're just going to have a great day because you have good aspects to your own natal chart, and everybody else is grumpy or complaining about how they got cut off in traffic or they're not getting what they want or whatever on a red day. Those colors are not always going to be holding true to how you feel about the day. However, when you watch the behavior of people around you, you might notice that the red days are more intense, the green days are more pleasant, and the black days are neutral. So it's a good starting point to look at the colors, but you need to consider the individual aspects of the day. Now let's look at the accompanying report. Before I do that, I wanted to point out the void of course chart here. And you'll notice that these are the days that the moon is void of course. Think about a sailboat slack in the water waiting for the wind to come and fill its sails. That's the energy when the moon goes into a void of course time period. Doesn't mean you can't be busy doing some things, but it might not be the best time to try to initiate new things. Usually I don't advise following this too carefully, because if you think about a void of course moon before you do anything at all, you would not get anything done, because look at how many time periods out of the month we enter a void of course moon period. And it tells you here the day and when it starts. Here on the 1st, 1:15 a.m., and it ended on the 1st at 4 a.m. So there were 3 hours there. But there can be entire days that are void of course. If you're going to buy a house, if you're going to plan a wedding, if you're going to go out and buy that new car, anything major, anything extremely serious, incorporating or launching your business, then take a look at this chart and maybe don't choose a void of course day, because it does carry some of that kind of slack energy to it, and it can make the growth of things slow down a bit, or maybe never really come to fruition. So initiating brand new things that are extremely serious and important to you, then consult that little void of course graph. Otherwise, don't worry about it overly much, because you might never get out of bed and do anything. So now let's take a look at the report that comes along with your calendar. All of the little hieroglyphics that you saw there, all the astrological symbols that showed you the transits, are also here, but they have an explanation of what they mean right next to them. If it is to your own natal chart, you'll see it in blue, transit to natal, and the symbols will be in blue. The day will be there, the time it occurs, and the time zone that it is occurring. And when a planet is entering a house or area of your chart, the house number will be there. So here on June 1st, the moon entered my 10th house. That is the symbol for conjunction. My 10th house, or midheaven cusp, was also joined by the moon when the moon hit my midheaven on June 1st at that time. And that is the entry, or the front door of the 10th house of career. So the moon moved into my 10th house of career just after midnight at June 1st. And then the aspects that were occurring during the day, it gives you the time that those are occurring. And here that's going to be affecting everybody because it's a transit to transit, and it's in black. And here it's back to a personal aspect for me. And you will be able to go through the entire month and every single little planetary aspect that's on every single day on the calendar has an explanation. Now, keep in mind that this is a generalized explanation of how you may potentially feel that particular aspect. What it is not doing is taking a further step back. Like here, the moon makes a sextile to my Saturn, and it also joins my Venus that day on June the 2nd. If I look at my own natal chart and take a look at where the moon is there, making a sextile to my Saturn and joining my Venus, that would be right there, my 10th house of career, and there's my Saturn, my 8th house, money house. That would be a good time to maybe sit down and look at the financial structure of what I'm doing with my career or my business, my job. I extrapolated what that transit means, what that aspect means, because I went and looked for where is Saturn, where is Venus, what houses, and I know what houses those are and what they mean. Now, the way that you can do that on your own goes beyond this report. If you want to extrapolate and see where those transits are occurring in your own natal chart, then the astrology cheat sheet is a wonderful thing because it's going to tell you the meaning of the 12 houses. You can draw up your chart for free at astro.com. I'm also going to be putting a widget on my site for free chart generation, so you have a chart readily available if you know your birth time and location. Astro.com allows you to do that for free, and you can go to free charts, extended chart selections, and choose the chart with the current transits as well, and you'll see the planetary transits on the outside of your chart wheel. Your natal planets will be on the inside of the chart wheel in the houses that are determined by your time and location of birth. That determines your rising sign or ascendant, and the planets that were transiting in the sky in their respective signs at that time you were born will be placed in the houses based on your location and time of birth. That's why birth time is important. If you don't know your birth time and cannot find it anywhere, then use 12 noon or 9 a.m. to generate a chart, but you will never know for sure what your rising sign is and what your house placements are. So you will never have that complete accuracy. But even if you don't know your exact birth time, this type of forecast is much more accurate for you than reading a daily forecast written based on sun sign horoscope alone that is supposed to take care of all the Aries people, all the Libra people, basically sun sign astrology. It is a very general prediction. It is also based on transits of planets if it's written correctly. However, what makes something like this more accurate is that exact aspects are being interpreted for you, both to the signs and planets that you have in your natal chart and to the planets that are moving through the sky, so you can see what's going on around you in the world, and you can see how the planets are affecting your natal planets personally. To extrapolate further into house areas of life that are being affected, well, accurate birth time and location is important, or paying a really good astrologer to rectify your chart, and basically they work backwards and look at a lot of events in your life that are significant and look at the transits that were going on at the time. It's basically working backwards to see, okay, you got married then, or you graduated school then, or you got fired from a job, or a friend or a parent died and it affected you. Those are all major events that an astrologer may ask about to determine what chart fits your life story. So if somebody's going to look over your past life story to rectify your chart and come up with your birth time, you can expect that you will pay a reasonable amount of money for the time spent in looking and researching to be able to take all their knowledge and information and theorize as to what is probably your actual birth time. As we go through, you'll notice that we have some of these bars here have different colors. That has to do with this little grid, and it's a quick scan aspect key. It's going to give you an idea about how long an aspect will last based on the color coding. If it's the moon, which moves very quickly, it's going to be fast. It will last for a few hours. Now, I have no idea how long this bar actually is supposed to represent. You know, on a map, an inch is however many miles. I have no idea how long this bar technically covers, but you'll notice that the moon, short little bar in black. When we get to some other planets, you'll see other colors pop up. Up there's Venus. Venus is in green. It's going to last you a couple of days because of Venus and her rate of speed. So you have a few days out of that. Planets that are further away and slower moving are going to have a longer duration. Here's the sun, and again, a couple of days, a little bit less than Venus. There's Venus, there's the sun. Still haven't hit on any long transits. Here's Mercury in pink, there's Mars in red, and Mars moves a little bit slower than Mercury, Venus, and the Sun. Mars takes 2 years to go around your natal chart wheel. So you'll have a couple more extra days out of that. You can have months, long months for some planetary transit sitting in one particular position, making an aspect to your natal chart. And I haven't yet popped up on any of them, but when you see them, you'll know. When there's a very long bar and it's all filled in, look for the corresponding color for the planet. And that will give you an idea. Finally, we just saw a long one there. Saturn. Saturn takes 28 to 32 years in total to go all the way around the chart wheel. It spends about 1.5 to 2 years in a sign. And here we have it making a square to Uranus. This is for everybody, transit to transit. And this gives you an idea of how this would be affecting not just you, but society. So that's a long-term aspect. All right, I think that's it. We've gone over the report and how to use it. It'll give you the times. It gives you the exact time of an aspect. As a planet is coming into aspect, it's considered applying. It's like when you see your friend on the street and you're walking toward them. That's applying. It's getting closer, closer. You're anticipating talking to your friend. You've seen each other. Then as you talk, it's conjunct, it's exact. Then as you walk past each other and you go in your different directions, you may still be thinking about your friend, feeling your friend. Then your mind turns to other things as you look ahead, and they go out of sight, out of mind. And that's a separating aspect. So here, when we've got, let's say, Mars opposing my Sun, and it's exact at 11:16 a.m. on June 15th, because it's going to linger for a couple of days. I may begin to feel this, around the 12th. Maybe I'll get a little more agitated because Mars is high energy and a bit more restless, and maybe get busy doing things more physically because these are physical planets. Then as the 15th passes, I may still feel some of that high energy, but it's beginning to wane and fade away, and then in about a week's time it will be forgotten. So depending on the length of time that an aspect is going to linger, you will feel the approach, then you will feel it fade, and it gives you a bunch of days before and after. And the same thing with the moon. They're fast-moving aspects, like the moon on my midheaven. Maybe the day before, I'm starting to feel that approach as it's sitting in my 9th house, headed toward the cusp of my 10th. And I'm thinking about the work I may need to do, and I'm getting things together. Then as it hits my midheaven, I may be working my butt off. Then as it begins to subside the next day, I may be feeling like I'm done with that. I got that work cleared away, it's over and done with, and I'm moving on to other things. But the exactness of it in the evening, that would have probably been, if I go check my scheduling page, I might find that I was indeed extremely busy with clients that night, because they might have all been thinking about me, and I might have been in high demand. I probably was booked solid that evening, taking calls. The morning leading up to it, maybe not so much, and the next day, not so much. But in the hours right before, because the moon moves quickly, probably from about 3 in the afternoon until 9 p.m., I would have been quite busy. Okay, well, that's how you use the calendar and the report, and this is where you can get a free chart. And again, keep tabs on my site. I'm going to be doing some reworking of it and putting in a widget that'll enable you to draw up free charts as well, so you don't have to go off my site to do that. And the Daywatch calendar is a great thing to have on hand. I always make it a year based on the month that you're ordering. So if you're ordering in June, it's going to be from June to June. It won't be, January that you've already been through. And you take care, and thank you.